today we're going to be creating self-portraits using a watercolor technique called Crazy Hair Day. So, first let's take a look at the supplies that we'll need. First off, I have something to protect the table because we're going to be using watercolors. I have a white piece of paper, something thicker if possible. I have a straw. This is a coffee straw. It works excellent for this project, but any kind of straw will work. Pencil with an eraser. Coloring supplies of choice. Color pencils, crayons are perfect. I wouldn't use washable markers to color in your self-portrait area just because they will start to bleed when you get to the watercolor section. So for coloring the portrait, you will need either crayons or color pencils. Now, last thing, obviously we need our watercolor supplies themselves. So I have a paper towel, I have my watercolors, some water, a brush. Now, very quickly, if you are a friend who does not have a watercolor palette, let me show you something you can do, and you can get those other supplies ready if you do not have the watercolors. If you have the watercolors, you're all set. If you do not have watercolors, here's something you might can manage. This is a styrofoam plate. So you could get kind of like a dinner plate, styrofoam plate, just not a paper plate. But then you can take washable markers, if you happen to have those, and you're going to basically color onto this. You're going to get a lot of pigment on there. Then you're going to take your water, your brush on your water. Then you're going to take that. Basically, you have created your own watercolor that you can then use on your paper, right? Another option is you can take a cup, a little bit of water in the bottom, then take some craft paint, squeeze it in. You're going to mix it for quite a while until it's not as kind of chunky and you can't see the blobs of paint as much. So you're going to stir, 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 stir. Once you do that, you're going to have watercolor that you can then use. So those are two alternative options if you do not have a watercolor set. If you do, just continue on with that. If not, then take a moment to go grab those alternative supplies very quickly because we are going to get started. Okay, so we're going to start with our very simple portrait at the bottom. The main goal or the importance of today is this kind of crazy watercolor technique here that we're going to add to the top. So it's important that when we add our portrait that we stick kind of closer to the bottom so we have the space for the hair after. So I'm going to show you kind of a general way to draw this self-portrait, but please, 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 we're all unique, we're all different. I would love to see you input your own creativity and maybe changing up your own self-portrait a little bit as you think about maybe how you look or maybe the clothes you like or the shirt you would like to be wearing. So that's just some ideas how you are free to change yours however you like. So first we're going to start with our pencil and we're going to draw kind of like an oval to circle shape closer to the bottom. It's okay if it's not perfect at first. I'm going to get mine just a little bit bigger because you have an eraser hopefully, right? So you can go in, erase till you get it just the way you like it, okay? I'm going to go in and erase this up just a little bit on the inside. It was just a little bit smaller than I'd like it in the beginning. Okay, now, once you have kind of your oval to circle shape for the head, I'm going to add kind of a neck coming down, some curved lines, the base, and then I'm going to add my shoulders that kind of come up, and down, just like that. All right, I can see a little bit of my shirt and my shoulders. Typically when you see a portrait, that is kind of the area that you will have visible. So head, neck, and shoulders, maybe the start of, let's just pretend that this is the shirt down here. Okay, now that we have kind of the outline, we are going to go in and add our features. Now, we're not going to draw our hair because that's going to be the watercolor technique, but we are going to add the eyes, eyebrows, nose, mouth, ears, maybe some accessories if you'd like. In this circumstance, we're thinking about the self-portrait kind of being shocked, like, whoa, look at my hair. So let's go in and think about how could this face look shocked or surprised. So we're going to make our eyes kind of big. So if we find the middle area, we're going to go up just above that. And we're going to draw kind of two curved lines to map out where our eyes are going to go. Slightly curved. It's okay to erase. Move the lines a little bit if you need to. That's why we have our pencil first. Now, I'm going to draw. Kind of looks like a little heel in there, doesn't it? Little heel. And then over this little heel, I'm going to draw some eyebrows. Remember, shocked or surprised. So the eyes are kind of big. The eyebrows are lifted up. And then I'm going to go in and add some smaller kind of curved lines for the inside of the eye. Now, the nose is going to be just down a little bit. We're going to represent that with just kind of curved line. That a little bit, want that kind of central. And then two dots and the nose. Feel free to change yours up. Remember, it's okay if yours is unique or different a little bit because we all look different. So now I'm going to add the ears. The ears are usually kind of level to the side with the eyes. So I'm going to put kind of a backward C over here and a C shape. I want to try to give them about the same size over here. I'm going to put some earrings on mine. Can too if you'd like. Now, I'm going to do kind of a large oval for the mouth because it's shocked or surprised, so it's kind of open. So I am going to try to map this out a little bit. It's okay. As always, if you need to go back in and erase or fix it, you see the teeth a little bit. And then the tongue kind of looks like the top of a heart almost. That's a very shocked face, isn't it? All right, now, the last thing I want to encourage my friends to do is take a moment, add some accessories, adjust those a little bit, think about how they can make it look even more like themselves for their self-portrait. Remember, we're not adding the hair because that's going to be the fun kind of technique we use with the watercolor. I'm going to add a necklace maybe to go with my earrings for the kind of personal touch. And I'm going to add that flower with my colors. All right, so I'm going to give this a pause. I'm going to let my friends catch up with their drawing. While we're doing that, I'm going to do a time lapse of me going in and adding color. Now, when I add my color, am I going to add the hair? No, I'm just going to put the color using my coloring supplies, either my color pencils or my crayons, and I'm going to add the color in the face and the shirt and the details. So let's do a time lapse of that. While I'm doing that, you're wrapping up your drawing and switching to your colors as well. portrait complete, colored in, we're going to move to the fun part, the watercolors. And this does not take that long, friends, and it's fun. Do need to be a little careful though. So let's learn how to do it first. Let's watch Mrs. Mapula, and then we will start on ours. So you are going to get together your watercolor supplies, whether it's the actual set or the kind of substitutes we talked about earlier. I'm going to first start by getting my brush and getting it wet and in the pigment I will be using. I do suggest for this project that you stick to maybe around 3 colors. If you're stretching it, maybe 4, but not more than that, because the colors will start to mix and get kind of dirty and icky. So I'm going to pick 3 or 4 colors that just go well together. And I'm going to start by making a kind of pool, as I like to call it, of watercolor. I'm going to make sure when I put this kind of wet pool of watercolor down that I put it near kind of the scalp or the hairline. You don't want it to go into the face. I do have a paper towel ready in case it starts to happen, because it does. But I'm going to start maybe near the ear. I'm just going to get it pretty wet with watercolor. And I like to call it a little pool confined area. So that's pretty wet. Now, I'm going to take my straw. This is very important. I'm going to lean into my pool. Now, am I ever going to suck up the pigment? No, I'm not going to eat the watercolor. It's not safe. So be very careful that when you're using the straw that you are actually blowing out, number 1. Number 2, you want to lean in almost to the point that you're touching it, but you're not. And you can kind of control a little bit where these lines are going to go when you blow out. Because if it starts to go this way and I want it more this way, I can kind of lean in and take it to the other direction. So let's take a look at and remember, it is crazy hair day, so it is going to kind of spread out and go in different directions, almost like a tree. I like to think of it, kind of looks like tree branches. So I'm going to do a couple more of these kind of blue pools of color, and then I'm going to switch over to maybe 2 or 3 other colors, but not more than that. Right? I'm going to put this one near this, but I'm also going to make sure I put some space, because I'm not going to switch from one color back to the other, I'm going to do one color at a time, because each of them I need to make sure as I go to a new color that I'm kind of cleaning my brush. You can start to get a little bit of a headache, so just be careful as you're using it. Take your time, make sure you're breathing. All right, just a few more of this blue, and I'm going to switch over soon. All right, now what I'm going to do before I go to my next color is I want to make sure I rinse my brush pretty well. I'm also, like I said, going to be using kind of some similar colors. I'm going to use kind of blues and purples, pinks, kind of similar. And what that basically means is if I'm going to the blue and then I go to let's just say, for example, a purple, well, purple is made up of blue. So when they start to bleed and blend in together, it's going to look fine. But sometimes if we're picking 2 different colors that aren't similar, they can kind of maybe start to blend and mix to a color we're not necessarily happy with. So try to think about colors that are similar and maybe use those together. All right, so I've rinsed my brush. I'm switching over to another color. And I'm going to do the same exact thing. I'm just going to keep putting pulls down near the scalp, and then keep spreading it out with my brush until my paper's pretty much full at the top. I'm also going to do kind of a time lapse for this one too. So as I'm doing my hair, feel free to get your painting supplies and your straw and begin. All right, we're all done. Make sure you put your name, and I cannot wait to see yours. Great job.